say that you care about LGBTQ rights and everything. Like, you can't say that you care if you're not showing it. And I think when we start caring, we'll start seeing some results because, like Adrian said, I have not seen a transgender story about somebody being killed on the news when I catch it.
Yeah.
I don't see that on CNN, and I don't see that on those things. So we have to bring awareness to it. Like we're doing, it has to be more than just us.
Yeah.
Because it's everywhere.
So let's deconstruct why we don't care, because that clearly is an issue. You all tell me your experiences. Yeah. Why don't we care?
Number one, I think honestly, there's still so much ignorance in the queer community. There's so much transphobia amongst LGBT people, and it's disgusting for us. People with privilege will always find somebody with less privilege.
Say that.
White people
Yeah.
look down on black folk.
Yeah.
Black folk look down on black queer folk.
Yes.
Black queer folk look down on trans folk.
Yes.
And that's just some bullshit. So we as a queer community, I can't even talk about what cis people need to do because they got their own shit to get together. Like, they can't even acknowledge queerness in general.
Mm-hmm.
So trans is just exploding people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
So we as a black queer community need to educate ourselves. We need to be more sensitive, and we can't always put the pressure on trans people to educate us. In the same way, I don't want to be pressured to educate white people all the time. Like, I don't identify as trans. I also don't identify as cis. I'm trying to find my lane there. But I am doing better at being more sensitive and cognizant to trans identity. Number one, understanding that trans identity is about gender. It's not about sexuality. Like, understanding that you don't call people transgender or transgenders, transgender people. Remembering somebody's pronouns. And even if you don't understand, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't understand, so I don't have to do anything about it. Yes, the fuck you do. You don't have to understand to have compassion for somebody.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And so we as a queer community need to, in the same way, we want white people to talk to white people, cis black people to talk to cis black people, we gotta start talking to white people. And when they're using wrong language, no, that's not how you say that. When they call somebody by the wrong pronoun, no, that's not what you do. Like, we have to stand up for our people. Because yeah, like, trans folks are like, you know what? We tired of y'all, we over here now.
Yeah.
And that's good for self-preservation, but we need to do better. We need to say, okay, we were working on, we're fixing this so y'all can come back.
That's right.
So you can feel that you are safe here.
Yeah.
Trans people should not feel unsafe in the queer community.
Absolutely.
They gave us this.
Absolutely.
They gave us this. So we gotta fix it.
Absolutely.
That's that education part again, of recognizing they gave us this. And for me, my people have had to walk through the back door for so long that now I choose that route for education. So this is what I do. And I walk into a school as a sub, which I do intentionally because it affords me a certain amount of autonomy. And if you don't like what I gotta say, then too bad, I'll go to another school. So I walk in and I introduce myself as a cisgendered instructor. And then I ask my students, do you know what that means? Okay, so I'm not giving them a lesson on sex versus gender, but I do explain it, and I've done it for middle school students. And how I explain it to them simplistically is that sex is between your legs and gender is between your ears. And for those who just can't really get it when it comes to trans, because we are so caught up in the gender binary, what I generally ask them is how they know their whatever gender they identify with. Oh, so you say you're a boy? How do you know? So if you lost your penis today, you wouldn't be a boy anymore? It gets them thinking, well, how do, yes, how do you know? Because it's really not about genitalia. I mean, goodness forbid, if I lost my breast and my vagina today, I'd still be a woman and I'd still be lesbian. Even if Lord forbid, if I never had another intimate encounter, I would still be lesbian, because it's not about behavior when it comes to my orientation. So that education piece of not being so caught up in the gender binary that you're, like what you said about, I just don't understand this. I don't feel like I gotta do anything. How do you know who you are? And that opens the door and starts the conversation, and it creates some frustration because they don't know what to say. Because somebody told me I was a girl? What does that mean? You know,
we
so.
break it down. You can't really define what it is to be either one, because it's all cultural.
Yeah.
Like
That's right.
years ago, blue was for girls and pink was for boys. Now, if a dude wearing pink, oh, he gay, he wearing, you know, but it's all cultural. Like 50 years from now, there's gonna be a different like expression for what qualifies as feminine and masculine. So just let people be who the fuck they are.
So this whole construct of feminine and masculine, like these gender constructs, how much of a barrier is that to us really being able to connect and understand one another, Jazz?
I think it's huge because it's like you got society expects certain behaviors or certain emotions from males or girls or boys, and that's just, you know, that's not correct. And it's like, you know, I've always been what people label more masculine little girls as a tomboy. I've always been a tomboy, right? I know earlier I said that being a lesbian, but that was the name I put on it to better, so you guys understand where I was coming from, but I never identified as anything. People ask me, like my stepdad used to ask me all the time growing up, are you gay? Do you like girls? And like the pressure and how hard it was, just, you know, like knowing that, how he spoke about it, and, you know, like even other members of the family, like, you know, I was scared, so I would always deny it, you know, and that's the problem, you know, like like being afraid of who you are is you know, is the problem. And yeah, education is what she said, like also just speaking up, you know, like I have trans women come into my job all the time, and I'm like, you look good, girl. You know, clearly, you know, appearance is everything. If someone, I mean, I don't know if I'm being biased or not, but, you know, you kind of can know if someone prefers being called he or she by their outfit, because that's, well, they're, the way they present themselves. That's, right, you probably ma'am, or, you know, because of how you dress, you know, so, but that's where I'm getting at. That's where I'm getting at. Like, that's wrong. You see what I'm saying? Like, because we know by society how you dress, you prefer to be called ma'am, you know, we assume. So the education part is, you know, just, hey, ask questions.
Yes.
Ask questions, you know, like, you know, you see something wrong, speak up about it, right? Like, don't make us feel like it's wrong to be who we are. Don't make kids or trans people or gay people or lesbian, whatever, don't make it feel like it's a sin, which is where religion comes in, which is a whole other thing. You know, it's wrong. It's not wrong. You know, and that's where it starts. Just us helping each other. Like, you know, you're already in the LGBTQ community. You know, why look down on your brethren or your sister? You know, why make them feel like an outcast? Because at the end of the day, we all just want to belong, right? That's pretty much the end game. Like to have a sense of belonging.
Go ahead,
Right? Like that's really what it comes down to. And just, you know, like you speaking up. You know, like I'm happy people spoke up for me. You know, it made me more comfortable, you know, to now speak up for other people. You know, so that's really what it comes down to. Just like if like you're doing something, like speaking up, start there. You know, you see somebody being treated badly, whether they're gay, straight, whatever, speak up. Right? Everyone's criticizing those girls that recorded George Floyd being murdered and not doing anything. Well, they were scared. Society tells you attack a cop, you get killed. That's what they see, right? So they were scared, right? So let's not keep chastising her, but let's all speak up. Let's all do what's right. Like if we do that, that's the first step. Like just do what's right, not what, you know, what society wants you to do. Be you. Don't be a robot, or, you know, like a one track mind, you know, like it's, if you're being hazed, I'm gonna stop it because I'm a good person, you know, like out of sight, out of mind. That's where I wanted to get to. Out of sight, out of mind. That's why people don't care. They just don't care. Out of sight, out of mind is why they don't care, you know, like, and we're all guilty of it. I've got 13 brothers and sisters. I don't call them all the time. Out of sight, out of mind. Is it intentional? No, but I don't call them because honestly, like at the end of the day, subconsciously you don't care to call them, you know, like, and out of sight, out of mind. You don't care about something because it's not immediately impacting your life, and that's the problem, you know. So we, you know, it's kind of foolish for me personally to think that everyone's going to care because it doesn't affect them. If I'm a billionaire and your life never mattered to me before, it doesn't matter now because it doesn't change anything for me. My life's still great, right? If I'm poor and I don't have anywhere to live, Why do I need to matter about your life when I still don't have anywhere to live? It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect my immediate life, so it doesn't matter. When we as a community get out of that mindset, that's when change will start happening.
Got it. So we are, I want to challenge our viewers, and I want to challenge all of us as well. So there is a group that many of us are a part of, an online group on Facebook called the LGBTQIA Community Conversation. It's basically like a clearinghouse for an exchange of thought and information related to anything LGBTQIA. And on that group, quite often, Black trans women of color will post their needs. I need a few dollars for something to eat. I'm staying at a hotel and I'm short $30. I need a bus card to get to work, a transportation card. And they'll put their Cash App. And I want to challenge those who are viewing this to join the group and adopt a trans woman, particularly a Black trans woman. Adopt a Black trans woman and inbox them and say, hey, this is my cell phone and this is my email and this is where you can contact me directly. And if you are ever in need, or these are the resources that I have available, this is something that I will offer you. I think we can, none of us can fix the whole problem. Some of us are doing organizational work, but that's not everybody's gift. But everybody can touch one person. And the LGBT, you can search it on Facebook, LGBTQIA Community Conversation. And I encourage and I challenge everyone to do that work. Carlos, you were going to say?
Oh, I was just, because I know you had asked about the masculinity and feminine. And
Sure, constructs.
Constructs. I was going to say, I educate people like that all the time. And I have this thing where I say, okay, once or twice it's a mistake, the third time it's a habit. And then I have a little bit less tolerance when you do that, because I've had so many people that I had to tell, so what do you mean by you don't act gay? They tell me, oh, I didn't know you were gay. You never asked. Well, you just don't act gay. You don't talk gay. You don't dress. And I'm like, what does that mean? And it's the same thing that people do with Black. Like, you talk white. Mm-hmm. How? Because I speak educated? That means that I'm talking white, or certain things. And so when it comes to that, I feel like they put a label on gay men to act feminine, to be flamboyant, to be very dramatic and over the top. And then I think a lot of that comes from TV. And I think it's changing now. I see a lot more, they put masculine men in gay roles. And a lot of times I see them using real gay people. And they're putting them in roles where they're using.
Isn't that a novel idea?
Right, right. Because before I was just thinking like you put these people that don't know in these roles, and then they thinking that they gotta be girl, this and that. So when society sees it, they expect every gay guy whenever they meet you to act that way, and I'm like, that's a personality. That has nothing to do with your sexuality. That's a personality thing, because there are girls who are just more masculine. Because that's who they are. That doesn't make them gay, straight, or anything. And I feel like when it comes to that, it is an educational point, because a lot of times I have to teach people, like, what does that mean? Why do you feel like I have to be this and this? I had to tell a girl in the store, and, she was helping me pick out something, and she like, child, you gonna look good in this, honey. And I'm like, don't, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like you already put in your head that I'm supposed to be whatever, and I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. To the register, whatever, and then it took me back, and I came back and I asked her, why did you feel like that was cool? Why did you feel like that was cool? And she was just saying, I just seen the way you dress, and I just thought you whatever.
Being inclusive,
right?
And
She thinks it's being cool. Asking me about. Do I go to Scorpio? Like she was asking me questions. And I'm like, you don't even know me.
Right.
I could be a straight guy with 10 kids at home, and this and that, and you automatically assume this because of the way I'm dressed.
Sure.
Because I'm dressed. Because sometimes I do dress a little over the top. But because I'm dressed a certain way, that they do that, and I think that feminine and that masculine construct has been beat into people's heads so much. Just like the gay and the straight construct has been beaten to people's heads so much that they have no other choice but to think that if you don't with this, if you do this, then you're this, and if you look like this, then you're this, and if you act this the way, then you're this, because we don't educate them. And a lot of times we let it slide. I don't let people slide anymore when they say that, you don't look gay, you don't talk gay, you don't act gay. Okay. Are you in my bedroom? And I asked one person this, I said, so what you mean, have you been in my bedroom? So how can you know what it is that I'm doing if you have never been in anywhere where you know how or what my sexual orientation is? Because that's not your business, and a lot of times they think that it is their business, and it's really not. I don't like introducing myself as, hey, I'm Carlos, I'm a black gay man, because people don't go into a room and say, hey, I'm a black straight man. It's not necessary.
Right.
So I don't owe you an explanation when I meet you to say, hey, I'm gay. And a lot of people feel like they have to do that, and it's just like, that furthers that idea that we have to put titles on things and be masculine and be feminine and be different things when we just can be. So that
Well,
was just
that's
my...
the conversation that we're having. That's this breakdown, because the whole idea within the gay community of gaydar,
Yeah.
and we put that on each other. I used to joke when I was, I guess by comparison's sake, a late bloomer, since I was 27 before I realized and actually came out and dated someone. So I used to joke all the time that I never received my toaster in the oven, my toaster in the mail for my gaydar, like whatever the gay kit, the welcoming kit that you're supposed to receive, the toaster oven, and your gaydar, where you, so more often than not, and this is where I automatically default everyone to straight. That's my own bias, and I recognize that. The first thing is recognizing and acknowledging your bias. Jazz, when you came in, all I saw was, oh, he a cute little boy. I was wrong because you're a grown-ass man. But you look like you about a good 18. Hold on to that, because good black don't crack. But you're a grown man. You're 31 years old. I was like, wow. But I automatically just saw male when I saw you. I recognize that my bias is I default to heterosexual norms of male and female. Unless you tell me that you're gay, I don't care if I see you in the gay club.
Right.
That means absolutely nothing, because straight people in the gay club all the time.
That's true.
And whatever anyone would see in your bedroom means nothing either.
Not a damn
I
thing.
really, in love, I tell you, to consider not even saying that anymore. Because what it does is it equates behavior with orientation.
Yeah.
And who you're sexing has nothing to do with your orientation at all. I mean, you could be someone, and we know that there are plenty of people who, as orientation becomes more fluid and more accepting, even in the wake of what we're talking about, there are things that I see right now that I would not have seen when I was a kid in school. There would have been no two girls walking the hall holding hands. That would not have happened. That's a regular now. But I have constantly reminding people that it is not about the bedroom. We don't want to find ourselves back in the DSM and have everything boiled down to a sexual act, because it's bigger than that. And for those of us who identify as LGBTQ, I know that it's not purely about who we're making love with. It's more about who we are, how we live our lives. It's so much bigger than that.
You could be abstinent and be gay. You could be abstinent and be gay.
Anything
That's
else?
right. You could, exactly. You could be abstinent and you would still be gay, lesbian, trans.
And asexual, because there's a whole,
that-
I mean, we are much greater
Yes.
than what the labels are. But again, it is spaces like this. It is black spaces like this, because we have a lot to learn from each other. You have generational differences in this space. You have socioeconomic. You have academic levels that are varying in this space. We have a lot that we can learn from each other. That by creating spaces like this, having real conversation, not only are we teaching, we're learning simultaneously for us to then, in conversation, like I recognize, in my mind, I have a very diverse circle. To some people, a large aspect, my circle is very diverse. But I know I still have a lot of personal work that I can do in order to be a better ally to my trans sisters and brothers. I don't have in my inner circle any trans men or women that I'm in constant communication with. I have friends that are around the state and around the nation, but that I am constantly can see, even with COVID-19 and the impacts of that and this whole new world that we're in, mask and all. I recognize that my personal circle still I can have some growth. But this right here, before we lose those who are watching and tuning in, before we close down, again, I have to commend Charlotte Black Pride and Destiny Productions for creating a space for us to have this conversation, because it's needed and it's not a one-off. We got to figure out a way how to continuously have this conversation and open it up for others who feel like, if you feel like your voice you didn't hear your voice today, reach out so your voice can be in the next conversation, because this isn't a one-off.
That's right. We're gonna wrap with Eternity, and actually we're gonna wrap with you, and then the word from you first, and then Jazz.
Okay. Just still going back to the whole masculine feminine thing. So gender is so performative, number one, because everybody's like, oh, if I'm a man, I have to do this, do this, do this. And that's something that is not just about trans folks, even queer folks. Like, cis people suffer from it without realizing. You got so many men out here that don't wash their ass because they think it's gay. There's a post where this dude talk about, it'll make you gay if your daddy love you. Like, legit said that. Yeah.
What?
No, legit said, you supposed to hate your pops a little bit.
Yes.
Because if somebody gives you affection, you start to love them. Legit said that.
That's sad.
And so, when
Wait
you,
a minute, if someone gives
Based
you
off of
affection, you
video
start
of
to love
father
them?
interacting with his
but
child.
so, like, these boxes are so small and so tight, and people have confined themselves that when they come across people who choose to be free, they don't know what to do. Because in our queerness or in our LGBTness, because I've learned to make a differentiation between lesbian gay and queer. Because not all lesbian gay identify as queer. And then you have trans people, and trans people are some courageous motherfuckers, because no, for real, you have to be courageous and strong to live trans.
That's right.
To live as your true self, because you know how your life is gonna be, but you choose freedom instead. And folks can't take that. Like, black folks talk about we want to be free, they don't really know what freedom is. Because when they see people who are free, they get mad, because they not free.
Wow.
I got snips.
Final word, Jazz.
She threw me off with that.
Right on
That
us.
sounds like
wanna
an
thank you
Audre
for being
Lorde
a free
quote right there.
Okay.
That was good.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I see you.
I just wanted to say to all my trans sisters, just stop being scared. Just be you. I mean, I know it's a lot, and I would be lying if I didn't say that. The last 3 months, I sometimes just didn't leave the house just because I wouldn't say I'm not ashamed, but you lose a lot when you decide to be yourself, and but we've got to do it, and to people that know trans people, lift them up, lift up these trans women, because they get it the worst. Like, they get it the worst, because at the end of the day, a trans man is still a man in America who still still has some type of who's still treated better.
Privilege through maleness.
Yes, privilege through maleness, and we gotta help them out. Like, we gotta let them know that it is okay. You are being you, and that is not a crime. It's not a sin. You choose to live your life the way that you've always lived your life. Now the world is just seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I came out as trans, everyone's just like, well, a person said, well, are you gonna change? I'm like, there's nothing in science that says I'm going to change. I'm still gonna be me. I'm still me. I'm just now looking on the outside the way I've always been on the inside, and I'm not afraid to say who I am now. And that's the same thing with our trans sisters. You know, like they decided to make that step, and don't think for a second they don't know that when they leave the house, they are going to be criticized. They probably might, somebody might pull out a gun and shoot them right there, or slapped, or pushed, or like discriminated against. It's happening day in and day out, and they are scared. They are. Trans women are scared. They might not say it, but subconsciously you're scared. I'm scared. I was scared coming here today, but I knew that this was a part of my growth, and that I had a good support system, and I'm comfortable. We gotta help them be more comfortable. That's where it starts. We have to help them be more comfortable. Stop giving them the double look. Don't look away when you see them. Don't treat them as if you wouldn't treat your sister. Like, if that's your sister, you hold the door for women, hold the door for a woman. Simple and plain. Like you say yes ma'am to a woman who appears to be a woman, say yes ma'am if she appears to be a woman. That's what you do. Like the biggest problem is treat it differently. Don't treat us differently. We just want to be treated like a regular person.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So on behalf of Destiny Productions, thank you, Destiny. You're welcome. You're amazing. Longtime partner of Charlotte Black Pride, day one partner of Charlotte Black Pride. We appreciate it. So this is part one of a 3-part series. There'll be a part 2, and part 2 will be centered around the impact that racial injustice and discrimination has on youth and young adult LGBTQ folk. So we'll be exploring that deeper. Jazz will bring you and Carlos back to that conversation if you're available, and we'll have a host of a lot of other amazing people. And then part 3, and we touched on it a little bit, is going to be about our economic impact as Black LGBT people, and we'll be partnering with the LGBT Chamber of Commerce. So look out. If you don't follow us on Facebook or Instagram, please do so. And you definitely need to follow Destiny. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. Parties, as soon as it's safe to party again, we'll be having a good time with Destiny again. But nevertheless, they'll be a part of this amazing conversation. I want to say, yes, you can. I want to say thank you to all of you for all of your candor and just your transparency. It is my personal belief, I know it's the philosophy of Destiny and of Charlotte Black Pride, that as a community, we are defined by the least of us, the quote unquote least of us, right? So in our community, that's definitely Black trans women. So we have Black trans women who are disproportionately homeless, disproportionately being murdered and assaulted, disproportionately uneducated, disproportionately living with HIV/AIDS. That defines the whole fucking community. That's the whole community. So we got to do some work around that. So the 2 takeaways from this is, number 1, I'm challenging all of you, and we are all committing that we're going to adopt a trans person. One easy way to do that, again, is to join the Charlotte LGBTQIA community conversation group on Facebook, where our trans sisters are almost every day posting a need. You can identify one of them, help them, connect with one of them, and we actually gonna, when we wrap this up, do a post and invite them in the comments to say their names and what their needs are, and just connect with whoever your spirit connects with. And then Destiny and Charlotte Black Pride, in the coming weeks, we're going to give ourselves like 5 working days to do it. Give ourselves a week to come up with a list of resources, Black LGBT affirming and culturally competent therapists, clinical social workers, and those who are doing psychosocial work in our community, because this thing is impacting us in so many ways, physically, emotionally, and mentally. So everybody give a plug before you leave. I know some of you have your own organizations and businesses. Anybody can start?
Legacy Elite Youth Organization. We provide basketball training for youth ages 7, usually like around 6 or 7, all the way up to whenever you feel like you're done playing basketball. So,
where can they find information about you?
The Legacy Elite
You're on Facebook, right?
Yeah, Facebook.
Search
yeah,
Facebook.
Search
Instagram.
Legacy Elite Youth Organization
Legacy
on Facebook.
Elite.
Legacy Elite.
Okay, very good.
My business is Soul Liberation Wellness. I teach yoga education and self-care to Black and Black queer communities, populations, individuals. My website is mysoulliberation.com, and you can also do My Soul Liberation for Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the spaces.
You're doing yoga in the park soon?
Oh, snap, yeah. So, Juneteenth, glad you asked. Juneteenth, this Friday, 6:45 in Freedom Park, as long as there's no rain and no event, doing yoga for Black liberation. And so it's Black, not just Black queer, but just Black, to be clear, not tan, not tan. At 6:45 in Freedom Park, look for me near the stage. Free.
Thank you.
White allies, please donate.
We love free.
Yeah, free.
My name is L. Monique King. I'm on all social media by my name, L. Monique King. I work for the Powerhouse Project, providing intervention and prevention, free HIV testing, PrEP, linkage to care, all of that. Post-pandemic, I'll be back to hosting my open mic, Lip Service, Charlotte's only LGBT pure poetry open mic. And hit
And
me
you're an
up.
author.
Yes,
You got a
I
book?
don't want to be too, you know.
You got the spotlight. Go.
Yes, I am an author also. My website is lmoniqueking.com. Yeah, www.lmoniqueking.com. I have a book out. Please.
It is called From Collards to Collarloos.
It's
If you
so
don't say,
good.
just
Yes,
It's
From
good.
Collards to Collarloo, collection of poems and letters. There's an e-version and a hard copy version.
Cool. This space here is called Noda at 28th Creative Arts Studios. It is Black and gay owned. And affirming, of course. So this is a retail center. It's a multi-purpose space and an art gallery. So check us out on Instagram or Facebook.
Once again, I am Adrian Wiley, just a small part of Destiny Productions. We do have our president, Derek Brown, and our other members, Eric Fox and Ty Ballard. Basically, we are one of the party promoters here in Charlotte that basically, when things, and if they open back up, just look for us on Instagram at Men of Destiny, and also Facebook is Destiny Productions on Facebook.
How do you spell that, sir?
I'm sorry, that's Destiny with an I, Destini, and the word Productions. We also want to thank Charlotte Black Pride for giving us the opportunity to open up this conversation. We touched on so many facts and basis on today: racism, sexuality, masculine and feminine, and all that. So this you know, it's a lot on us.
Yeah.
It's a lot on me. Like
Yeah.
so one day I just turned the TV off because it just got too much. I got too involved in it. I was coming emotionally drained. I was like, I'm not going to watch on TV today because it was the looting and then the rioting, and that was just like certain things I didn't understand. But as I, listen further to the stories, I can get the part about how you feel about the looting and how we looted back several years ago. So once I understood that and got that history, kind of relaxed me a little bit because I just didn't understand why they're burning down these stores or breaking into these stores in their own community.
Because we don't own them.
But is it their own community?
That's
Right,
because we don't
right.
own them.
So that was one of the biggest issues I personally had throughout this whole entire ordeal was that. So once I learned a little bit about what happened in the past, got a better understanding.
So again, I am Lawana Mayfield. You can follow me on Facebook. My personal page is Lawana Mayfield on Facebook. I also have a Facebook page, Unapologetically Black with Lawana Mayfield, which is my video podcast through the Square Media Network. Square Media, SQAIR Media Network is a Black-owned media network that started right here in the Carolinas by Steve Rutherford. Our studios are in Gastonia. I am one of his hosts. So you have a cis Black man who is creating space for all voices to be heard. Also, you can follow me on Instagram, and it is backwards. It's Mayfield Lawana on Instagram, as well as Unblack0123 for the Unapologetically Black page.
Thank you.
And You can find me on Instagram at I am Carlos Dwayne. It's DWAYNE. Also on Facebook at Carlos Dwayne. I just dropped an album on May 23rd, so make sure that you go check that out. That would be great. And then also, I forgot to plug too, because I know we talked about physical. I also am a fitness coach and a distributor for Herbalife. So if you're trying to get yourself together, I know we all got our quarantine bodies and things going on right now. So if you're trying to get yourself together, definitely hit me up, and then I can help you with all of that as well.
Thank you all, beloveds. Thank you. You all have a good night.